yet seen there are no other reports, I would like to introduce our guest speaker. So Bryan Norris, I met him, I don't remember, several years back, and he's part of our 1st Congressional District. When he first reached out to me about coming here to speak, I had no idea that he would later be running for Secretary of State. So I did write a few things down earlier today that I wanted to share. One thing I have come to appreciate about Bryan since I've known him and served with him on the 1st District Executive Board is he's proactive. And he not only offers ideas, but he offers his own time and abilities to get things going. And I think he's a great team player. I've also appreciated his availability. So many times it seems that when people are running for a political office, that's the only time you ever hear from them. But I've seen Bryan work shoulder to shoulder with the grassroots people, with the ordinary people, and I appreciate that. So with that, I'll let you share anything else you want to share about yourself, but with that, would you like go ahead and...
Absolutely. If it's okay, I'll just stay sitting down and we'll just have a conversation. This is my buddy Jared Harris. He's my partner in crime. We've logged 1,500 miles since we got the Tesla 2.5 weeks ago, something like that. So putting rubber on the pavement, getting around, right? My name's obviously Bryan Norris. I'm a native Arkansan. I tell people I'm a maiden Arkansan, right? Because I served in the military for 21 years, retired as United States Army First Sergeant. Before that, I had no intention to serve in the military at all. I got a scholarship, was going to ASU, and 9/11 happened. Kind of felt the call to go do it. I enjoyed it. So, quick trip turned into a 21 wonderful career. And when you're in the service and you're meeting people from around the states, there's a common.
So everybody can hear.
Okay.
Everybody, you need to stand up. That lady there can hear you talking.
I can hear.
So you begin to understand commonalities from people across the United States, right? Californians act one way, New Yorkers act one way, Southern people act one way, right? And about the only thing I could say for all the Arkansas soldiers that I always met, they were freaking tough. They were just tough. They may not be the smartest, right? Hey, call a spade, right? But they're genuine, hardworking, and they're tough, right? And anytime when I got up in rank, I would go through the add-on roster, and I would find kids coming from Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and I would make sure that I pull those mom dudes in my team, right? Because at the end of the day, if I told them to go assault the hill, they're going to assault the hill with vengeance, right? And that's what we're doing. And as we were going around, people they do say thank you for your service, and I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I don't think you guys civilians really understand what that actually means to service members in the way that that's conveyed. Even if a lot of times soldiers, we talk about this, sometimes we don't know how to act when people say it. And I would always tell my soldiers, you immediately say thank you for your support. And I mean that with the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your support. You wrote a blank check to us and told us to go forth and do great things, and we'll pay for it. We'll figure out the finances. You figure out how to do what you got to do. And I hope we made you proud. I worked really hard. I did the best that I could, teach, coach, mentor troops and stuff that were coming up behind me. There's a quick story on that. I was a foreign exchange officer in France. And we were in the NATO group, and we were doing a site survey in Monte Cassino, Italy, which is an abbey. And it's like 6.5 miles up to the top of this thing. My commander wanted to run it, of course, so we ran it. And we get all the way to the top of this thing. It's summer, it's August in southern Italy, so it's hot, and I'm drenched, and there's a tour bus coming down full of Americans, and we're in our uniform. And people hanging out the window, thank you for your service. And the French and the British and the Germans that were with me, they were like, never in my country, never. And I would tell soldiers that as we went around. So, we may not always react the right way because it's kind of embarrassing sometimes, but trust me, it hits on those a little bit. I'm married to a woman that's I married outside of my league. Don't tell her. She hasn't figured it out yet, right? She still lets me hang out with her. I married a California refugee. I brought her to Arkansas. She's one of the good ones, okay? And not only did I bring her in, but also the in-laws followed suit, right? Now they're here now too. And they're good people. We definitely went out with them. And when I met my wife, we were older. I was done deploying, and she told me, "If you want to marry me, I'm not working, and I want kids." Okay. So she was pregnant for 2.5 years. We got 3 kids. It's 11, 12, and 13. Irish triplets, right? And she's been a champ, man. She was named Indo-Pacific Commander's Spouse of the Year for her work with helping spouses through deployments and people are going out. She's a licensed nutritionist as well. So she would spend her time helping soldiers, maintain their body composition and work out and do things, all volunteer. She still volunteers all over the place doing stuff and never asked anything. So she's absolutely wonderful, and she's raised. I helped a little bit, but I was always gone. And she's raised 3 wonderful freaking children. I mean, they continuously impress me constantly. I'm glad to be a part of their lives and see what they've done, and it's been phenomenal. Like I said, we lived most of our life we lived in Europe, and then a short stint out in the Pacific Theater where she got that. And so my kids' first real taste of Americana, like living in it, was Arkansas. That was it. I mean, they had Dairy Queen for the first time, right? And then when I got back here, trust me, it's a lot different than European ice cream too. Like when the kids were like, "There's candy in this," and they lost their freaking minds. And then I followed on later, and I started to realize that something had changed in the country that I grew up in the state that I grew up in. It was a significant change. And sometimes you have to leave and be detached from something to recognize the change that's going on, right? If I'm losing weight and my wife's with me every day, "You're still fat." Okay, But then I go and see Jared. I haven't seen him for a couple of weeks. And "Hey, man, you lose weight. Good job," right? It's kind of like that, but it's amplified when you spend that time away. And I definitely saw it. And then I got involved in the Independence County Republican Party. I didn't want to do anything. I retired. And I got a pretty cush job. I'll take a pay cut when I go to be the Secretary of State. But that's neither here nor there. But I wanted to be a part of something again. And I noticed there was a clear divide in the Republican Party. And it was black and white. I was indifferent. I had no skin in the game. Then I started noticing that it was most of the people that just wanted to have their voices heard and be a part of the process that were just getting ignored. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And it seemed to be like it was all the elected officials and old money that was behaving that way towards them, kind of ruling over them a little bit. Well, one day we're in a meeting and the subject of paper ballots comes out, and it was down the middle. And I started researching a little bit and talked to Colonel Conrad Reynolds. And then I said, okay, let me explore it a little bit further. Long story short, he asked me to lead the effort in Independence County to switch over. I did. And we won. 63% of the people in Independence County voted for it. And I can tell you, going out there and talking to people, Arkansas is one of the lowest voter turnouts in the nation. And when I was out there, people every time would tell me, "We don't trust that our vote matters. We don't trust the machines, so I vote." And there was one person for 3 months that wouldn't sign my petition. I mean, in a city of 12,000 people, we turned in over 6,000 signatures, right? I mean, pretty overwhelming. You know what I mean? And it passed, but they sued us all the way to the state Supreme Court just to keep it off the ballot. And that's when I was like, all right, this is not adding up. Why do you not? I mean, the America that I believe in, right, is the majority of the people want something, you put it before them, let them choose on it, and that's it, right? Why are you being a gatekeeper? Like, we're following the rules, we're going through with it. And what they did is I found out through a FOIA, after I turned in my paperwork, they had already been working with a 501c3 organization called the Arkansas Association of Counties. They had been directed, our county clerk had been directed, first, you're going to say they had out-of-state canvassers, and you're going to declare the measure insufficient. Well, we didn't have out-of-state canvassers. And so in the FOIA documents, my county clerk writes an email and says, it does not appear that our group used out-of-state canvassers. And to which the attorney replied, we have to attack the ballot now. So what they were doing is they were going to declare it insufficient based on out-of-state canvassers, which would not be valid, and then we could come back 2 years later with the same stack, and then they could declare it insufficient based on the title, then pushing us out another 2 years. And that would give them 4 years to change state law. But we beat them to it because we didn't use out-of-state canvassers.
Did you know that going in?
No.
Okay.
They want to change state law to prevent paper ballots.
Well, they have now. Well, they've changed state law to prevent the petition process. I'll get to that in just a second. So after I turned everything in, guys, I got attention to detail, like crazy OCD level stuff. I can't help it. When I turned everything in, the county clerk could look at a signature sheet. It was enumerated with a watermark. And I had a master Excel sheet that told her every sheet number, how many signatures were on it, who collected those signatures, and their phone number in case they had an issue with it. Duplicates of everything. So when I handed it in, you could see her face. She was like, crap, you know? And then I asked the attorney, I said, I think we should FOIA them. And I FOIA'd them, and that's when I found out all this stuff. And that really upset me. We went to the state Supreme Court and we won. And then it obviously won by 64% vote. Then after that, this last session, Senator Kim Hammer led a slurry of bills through from, I think it was 207 to 212. What that does is that took away our ability to petition our local county governments. It's impossible now. Because here's what you got to do. Get a petition, say, I think, there should be a curfew at 10 p.m., whatever, right? You want that to be a city ordinance, county ordinance, or whatever, right? So you walk up and you're like, can I read you this petition? You have to read the entire petition. And then you say, can I see your ID card? I'll show you the ID card. And you have to say, if you sign this fraudulently, that's a state felony, just so you know, right? And then they can sign it, right? So even after you do, and before you do all that, you have to pay for your own background check, right? To do a background check. So you do all that. And then 2010 or 211 says that the Secretary of State can nullify any county petition based on a preponderance of evidence. What does that mean?
That's a lot of authority.
Right? Well, what that means is if I'm from Independence County and you're from Faulkner County and I'm in Faulkner County and you ask me to sign a petition, I go ahead and sign it. And I call the Secretary of State's office and I'm like, hey, I'm a non-resident of Faulkner County and I just signed a petition sheet. She knew it. Whether she knew it or not, when she gets that sheet and sees my name on it, they'll declare the whole thing insufficient, right? The bill that failed out of those three was 212, and that would have given the Secretary of State his own police force to investigate petitioners. And that's the only one that failed. And the guy pushing those bills is now trying to be the Secretary of State. Right? That tells you a little bit about what he's after. And so that got under my skin. I started working with Colonel Conrad Reynolds, and I wasn't planning on running for Secretary of State. I kind of thought I would run for mayor, maybe state rep, because I thought I could affect change where I live at. That's about what I wanted to do. But it's just one of those things that happens sometimes. You just get pulled into it, and whether you like it or not, it's going to be more painful for you, it feels like, if you don't do it. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm here now. I'm not a politician. I'm not going to be a politician. I'm going to go in, clean up house, set things right, and then I'm going to go off into the sunset, turn my phone off, and don't call me, right? Because my time's over, you know. But I love my country. I love this state, and I've always been for the little dude, for like the person that can't defend themselves. For I believe that God has given us all gifts. And it's our responsibility to use those gifts and be stewards of our communities and towns and people that we're around. And when innocent people are just trying to go about their lives and live their lives and they're getting bullied and harassed, and it's people with strength can put a check on that, right? So I may not be the smartest person in the world, but I'm strength. My job in the military was I was a close CQB instructor, master trainer for the United States Army. anything that was from a short barrel rifle, pistol, knife, to hands on someone, that was my job. I taught thousands of soldiers how to fight. Jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, wrestling, kickboxing, field craftsman stuff. Like, you should see my 10-year-old kid. I mean, I got a killer coming into work. So this little girl, she can pull up a rifle, she can ping targets. I got some videos of her. She goes through CQB ranges out there shooting around obstacles and stuff. She's 10 years old. And she's about this freaking tall. She's the runt of the family too. Tall. I don't know. I get a kick out of it every time. My favorite part about it is nobody sees her coming. So we go to these ranges off and around, and everyone's like, she's shooting? Like, really? Like her 22 pistols like hanging up under her waist, right? And then she goes out there, you know, she's a little slow getting started, but then everything's hitting the targets, and people are like, you know, she's not the fastest, but man, she's on target crazy. Like, I love it. If you follow me on Facebook, you'll see some of those videos from time to time. And so that's me in a nutshell. I'm not trying to gain anything out of this. I don't want to be governor. I saw the way that things are going, and I saw how we fixed it in my county. They took that opportunity away from everyone else. And I know for a fact that we have a serious issue when it comes to machines. These machines have components that are manufactured in China, right? I don't trust an adversarial nation having that kind of potential influence over my vote. Because what's the value of your vote? $37 trillion in counting. If you can control California, and you can influence Texas, Pennsylvania, New York, Florida, if you can control those states with just the machines, you can influence who's in there directing the money, right? And you can go even further and just start attacking little congressional seats all across so that you get a whole bunch of them in your pocket and let them know, hey, you're going to vote the way that we want you to. Because we got you elected, we get you unelected, right? You have influence now over $37 trillion in debt, $2.4 trillion annually that comes through. And we're spending more than that every time. And I don't know an organization on this planet that wouldn't do what they could to try to influence that much money. Right? In the military, we call it low risk, high reward. If I can come in and influence you strategically, tactically, with very minimum people, very minimum resource, very minimum effort, but it degrades your ability to a point that you're non-combat effective, I'm going to do that over and over and over again. And if we think that these adversarial nations are not looking at this opportunity and going to execute on it, we're fooling ourselves. We're fooling ourselves. That's a strategic, decisive victory. If you're MBMPing a way to victory against the United States of America, right there's a way to do it. Write it from within, get control of the pocketbooks, waste their money, send them into bankruptcy. And you start a spiral trap. I mean, look at China thinks long way down the road. Muslim countries do too. They think long term. Our longest term thinking is about 6 years. Right? That's about it. Because that's a term of the Senate, which is an issue for us. And the other issue I'd like to talk and let you guys know about, if you didn't know, is what happened in Searcy County. Searcy County also went with paper ballots. They went with it through their quorum court. The quorum court voted for it. They did a primary election, the one previous to this general, and then they did the general with 100% accuracy using paper ballots. That entire 2-year time, 3-year time, they were bullied, harassed, threatened, nonstop. They tried to find any reason possible to fire them, to press charges against them, whatever they could think of. What they came up with is they said an organization, AVII, which is Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative, leased the county audiovisual equipment for $100. The audiovisual equipment was cameras up over a table like this, pointed down at the ballots, with TV screens up around the room so that everyone could see every ballot being counted and it was recorded, right? AVII made the same offer to any county in the state that went to paper ballots, right? So it wasn't just because it was Searcy County. It was the same offer to all counties. The Election Commission Board in Little Rock said that that was fraud and it was too cheap. And AVII has a vested interest. And so they banned their election commissioners for 14 years. 14 years they banned them. And if you ever meet these women, they are some of the most fantastic human beings that I know. Their county is very small, very poor. They don't get paid hardly anything for what they do, and they bust their tail for it. And no one helped them from the state figure this out. They had to do it all on their own. They spent their own money out of their own pocket to help get this stuff going. And all of their counters that were helping them were straight up volunteers. They didn't even ask for money, right? Because they wanted it to work. And then to be treated like this by their own government is just, it's insanity.
By their own Republican government.
By their own Republican government. And it's an uphill fight. It's not going to be easy. But anybody gets to know me for any amount of time, I love a challenge. I love obstacles. I find new ways to punish myself physically, mentally, constantly. I never stop. I was up this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. Had shoulder surgery not too long ago, but I did the best workout I could. Did a sauna session at 150 degrees for 30 minutes. Did a cold plunge at 48 degrees for 5 minutes. Did a little bit of work. Got in my car at 7 o'clock in the morning. Went down, did a podcast in Benton. Drove up to Conway for a lunch with concerned citizens, and then shot down over here. And on the way, I was doing some work on Wi-Fi and hotspot as I was going. And then we got a 3-hour trip back to Batesville tonight, right? I truly believe in order to stay young, you have to stay active. In order to stay mentally sharp, you have to keep your brain engaged and stuff and learn new things. And I set the example for my kids. We homeschool. My kids all play piano. They're all in sports and activities. They're avid outdoors people. They can read a military map. They can read a military compass. They can plot points on a grid square, and they could probably call for fire if I gave them a quick little class on it. But if I'm not doing and setting the example that I'm asking them to do, kids are real quick to call foul and call you out on it, right? And so I always try to go above and beyond for my kids. That's just the way that I live my life. I enjoy that. I like the struggle. So I'm happy about the competition. I don't see it as a bad thing. You want to raise my fees to $10,000, $15,000? Good. I'm going to raise more. I mean, I don't know how to tell you. It's like I told Senator Kim Hammer at the meeting. I said, you might as well quit and come on the winning team when he was there. I mean, that's just the way that I see it. So I'm in it to win it. I want to be your next Secretary of State. I don't want to be the politician. I'm not going to be your governor unless it better be a very big sledgehammer, right, for something like that to happen. But I want to right some wrongs. I want to fix the issues that I've seen. And until we rectify some of these issues, there's no place for machines in our election process. And our machines are owned by a private company. We're not allowed to know the source code, right? And that when it's reading your ballot, it's not reading your characters and the things that you select. It's reading the barcode, right? And we don't speak barcode, so I can't verify what that thing's saying. And then it's got foreign-made components in it. I mean, come on, like that's insane. Targets of opportunity are too great, and until we close those loopholes and we can say for certain that we can trust it, the state owns them, the state owns the source code, and we can publish that, we don't need machines. But that brings me to the law and the executive order from Trump. And so we were talking about law earlier. Trump's first term, he passed a law, but he did an executive order that was codified as a law this past February. This law says that there can be no foreign-made components in critical infrastructure. Elections are deemed critical infrastructure. So other things that are considered critical infrastructure are things like radar platforms, railheads, seaports, large major airports. So all of the communications equipment and all of those do not have foreign-made components. Exactly. HP stepped up in Texas and is producing 100% made devices in that area to start filling that gap. So that was codified. The new executive order expands upon that Trump released. It's called the Preserving and Protecting America's Election Executive Order. You can look it up. Just Google the latest one. And it lists in there all of the stipulations that he's got. And this is what's bothering me so bad. is our Secretary of State knows this. He has admitted it through internal emails that we forwarded and got, where he said, we are looking at a paper ballot election in 26, and I don't like it, but I don't see any way around it because of the EO. It's clear. He said that. It's in a FOIA. I'll send Rebecca the link. You can see the FOIA ABI question. You might have seen it
I
already.
haven't seen
What's his
it.
name?
Well, Colonel Conrad Reynolds has shared it out. Will Huff has shared it out. I've shared it out.
Secretary of State.
Cole Jester. Cole Jester. So he put that. So he knows it's coming, and he's not preparing. And if you don't prepare, you're preparing to fail. I'm sorry. How many of these counties are already looking to write a check to ES&S for the next election? And it's going to be for nothing. What we think is going to happen is a judge is going to come in at the 11th hour and is going to rule and put a stay on it. And then we fully expect Trump to authorize the National Security Act to supersede that at the 11th and a half hour and force a paper ballot election on all federal elections in the United States coming up in 26.
How will that pan out?
It's going to be mass chaos, and we don't need it. We don't need it. It's going to be mass chaos. It is what it is.
We can't petition our county government.
If you start a petition now, it would only be on the ballot in 26, so it wouldn't be in effect.
Oh, so we don't do anything.
Well, your quorum court can vote and take the county to paper ballots now. They have that authority. Whether they'll do it or not, it's up to them. But
What outfit, security outfit, is checking this stuff about the foreign hardware, software that handles our elections and stuff? We got something like the FBI or stuff like that here?
unfortunately, the only company that does any auditing on the machines is ES&S. All security checks, all validation of how they're working is all done by ES&S, the company that owns them. So,
They audit themselves. That's terrible.
yes. Sad.
At least they're not Dominion. Those are known to be corrupt.
Well, so is ES&S. What's crazy is they don't publish in Arkansas. But in Pennsylvania, ES&S, this last election, they completely flipped the names on the ballot. So when they were voting for somebody, it was actually voting for the other person. And Pennsylvania, they found the problem out, and they just started telling everybody when they come in, if you want to vote for him, select his name. And the machine will count it as you vote for him. That was their fix. There's a gentleman called Dr. Andrew Appel and Dr. Maynard. And you can find their documentation on avii.org. And you can read where Dr. Andrew Appel has broken down. He's a Princeton University cybersecurity expert. He's considered one of the best. And he broke down ES&S and the way that we do voting in Arkansas. And he ranked us as third from the bottom of the nation. Because of the EPO book, the ballot marking device was manufactured for handicapped people. It's not meant for everyone else. And then the tabulators that we use read barcodes. He says that every step along the way is opportunities for fraud that can never be traced back. Because Arkansas law says, if you conduct an audit on an election, what do you have to do? The audit must be conducted in the same manner in which the vote was taken.
They audited us after the term.
And they ran it right back through the machines, didn't they? That's the law. Now, I think machines have a place. They're fast, they're accurate. But why can't we have two-factor authentication when it comes to our elections, right? Why don't we have tabulators out?
They only do what you tell them.
They will. But if you do it this way, you run them through that night, you get a rough count, but it's not the certifying account. You come back the next day under camera being recorded, and you count every single one of them. And it should match the machine. And the machine should match the hand count. Right? If not, we got a problem. We need to do it again. Same thing when you go to your bank. If you go to your bank and you draw out $10,000, they run it through a machine, and then they sit there and they count it all out right in front of you, right? I mean, my vote to me is worth more than my money. You got a whole lot more opportunity to mess around with my liberties, which is far more valuable than some money coming from the bank account. So if it's that important for that, it's that important for me. So guys, that's why I'm here. It's who I am. It's what I'm about. But if you got any questions, if you'd like to ask me anything.
What's the guy's name? Donnie Scoggins?
Yes.
Donnie
Scroggins.
Scroggins.
Scroggins, thank you.
From Truman.
Right.
Point County, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. He would be very, he's all about what you're saying.
Oh yeah, he's been all over.
Good guy.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, was that ABII.org?
AVI.org.
And that was Andrew Lavelle?
And Dr. Andrew Appel. Appel.
Mike Lindell of the My Pillow guy has also talked about this issue. He's had Colonel Reynolds on, several others. Of course, he's on Rumble. He has his own channel on there, and then he has like Lindell TV, and does a lot of other discussions about the paper ballots issue.
So what can we do to help this issue? Talk to our court board?
Talk to your court report right now, that's about the max that you can do. Look, but if you don't get any traction there, leading a petition at this stage in the game probably isn't. You can call the Secretary of State's office and ask them why they're not prepping these counties for this issue. You can find them for you. You can see it in his own words. You know this is coming. I mean, what are we doing? You're just leaving us out to dry? You know, you're just leaving us to hang out? I don't understand that leadership style. I cannot wrap my mind around what the RPA, how they act, and how the insiders club up there seems to behave towards people.
They're trying to hang on the power. That's all it is.
But you're never going to amass power that way. You know, I've led. And one thing about the military is you get a new commander every 2 to 3 years because either you're PCSing or they're PCSing to a new place, right? So you see the full gamut of characters and leadership styles, right? And nothing makes you appreciate the good ones after you've had the bad ones, right? And I can tell you, if you want to be powerful and want to have actual power and influence, you treat your people with respect and you listen to them. It's number one thing that you can do as a leader is just take 5 minutes out of your day every now and again, walk up to somebody and be like, hey, how you doing? And actually look them in the eye, listen to them, try to retain it as much as you can, offer a little support, and then go on your way. I mean, that is going to go so much further than anything else it is you're going to do, any bonus and anything else, because you're making a connection, you're getting buy-in, and you're all working towards the goal. But there's no communication coming from Little Rock. There's zero communication. Everyone's in their own bus going in all kinds of different directions trying to get for themselves, and then all of a sudden the governor says something and they all react and want to go to it and try to get in line and figure out what it is she's doing. But there's no one is building a team. No one is being unified. What's the core mission of the Republican Party of Arkansas?
You Republicans elected.
Is it really?